Namaste. My name is Abraham Varghese. I'm speaking under the aegis of B-GHUD and trying to answer the questions that have been raised for the IELTS course. I must make it clear at the outset that the answers I provide or the opinions that I share with you all is not an exhaustive or a complete answer to everything, because not only is my knowledge confined to the amount that I speak, maybe more, but I'm limited by time also, and I don't intend to go into absolute details as I might wish to do otherwise. This is only because my purpose is actually to give you all some guidance of how to think, how to spread your thinking, how to pick up points and develop your own methodology so that you're prepared to do the IELTS exams and succeed in it. The next question that I'm dealing with is this. Some people believe that the Olympic Games do not belong to the 21st century anymore. It is a thing of the past. To what extent do you agree or disagree? To start with, I think I will take the easy option by saying that I agree. It's a thing of the past. But many past things are also applicable as they were then, even now. The fact here is, though, that we are talking particularly about the Olympics. Now, the Olympics effectively promotes the Greek culture and all those associated with it, from which they derive great satisfaction in competing amongst people. And in many ways, those who have joined this lavish and extravagant function of games are actually pawns or added-ons to the number of people participating in the world in the Olympics. Now that must not be looked upon as a disgrace. No, we all need to start somewhere. And what do the games actually mean? They mean a commitment. They mean an ambition achieved. They mean discipline. They mean care. They mean physical fitness and mental fitness. Like that, they mean a multitude of things in order to achieve success in the particular field or fields that the athletes enter into. It also promotes the fact that it is a necessary part of our education, not just to be trained in knowledge through books and in certain instances through practical terms, but also in the participation of sports, to know how to act as a group, to know how to perform as an individual. And basically, it also develops your brains, because you do need it considerably when you're playing most of the games. You're all the time in a position of challenging somebody else. And in order to challenge somebody else, you must have skills. And for those skills to work, you must work out the weaknesses of the other side, to exploit it. And for that, you need a mental capacity that is not just an average and to be dismissed as people who do not study, who do not have the necessary intelligence. I can assure you that there are many highly intelligent people playing high quality games and who contribute very seriously towards the development of sport and thereafter the well-being of those who wish to derive their living through sports. We are, after all, reminded by our past that each one of us has got a talent. And if sports can be one field in which you can rise, good for you. You must be given all the encouragement that is required. If it can be anything else, like teaching, like being a lawyer, like being an actor, like acting on the stage, whatever it is, it must be encouraged. And sports provides also, just like the theatre or acting and such other functions, it provides also a wonderful spectacle that the world appreciates and enjoys and sees and experiences the challenges that the participants take part in order to achieve the best they possibly can. In many instances, it provides a sense of national identity to the sport in which one's representative has succeeded. It is a measure also of how good athletes are. And I'm sure most of you all are aware that bringing up an athlete is a very, very, very expensive exercise. Bringing up any sportsman is a very heavy exercise these days, because you need all the facilities to extract the maximum potential of the individual, so that that individual can be satisfied and can satisfy the public by his or her skills. Now, I know that sports, just like education, is not a level playing field. There are many sports being introduced by certain nations because they have the power to introduce it, and they play it, and they have acquired long skills in it, whereas many other nations can't afford to play that game, therefore come into it fairly naked and actually picking up the rudimentaries of the game as they go along. Here I think we must be careful to ensure that each nation, in whatever sport they can introduce, are allowed to encourage it to be part of Olympics. And if that means more time watching the Olympic performances, well, so be it. But they must not be excluded, because only then can you actually measure the true capacity of human success when they are vested in competing with each other and achieve a higher standard. If you have some nations who are particularly good, who have invented a particular game and they constantly succeed in it, whereas others are trailing far behind because they're not familiar with it, they don't have the grounds, they don't have the equipment, they don't have the staff, or for that matter, they just don't think it's interesting. And when they do not participate, they are effectively making one more medal available to that winner, to that country. And there is a lot of jingoism associated with those who win the Olympics or succeed in getting gold or silver or bronze medals. Mind you, it boosts the morale and the spirit of the nation, which is very good, provided it does not end up creating any form of extremity. Many nations in the past, particularly I am reminded of the way that Hitler dealt with the 1936 Olympic Games. They based their skills of superiority or their claim to superiority as white people, not knowing that other colored people had just the same potential and ability, but not the same exposure as they had, because they were actually in control of power. That cannot be a proper, true, and honest measurement of the talent that we have available. If you take An example like that I always enjoy thinking about, and I share very often with my colleagues when I used to drink and be at a pub. And there's a game called darts, which I think most of you all are familiar with. And I think of the short distance between the player and the dartboard, and our desire to aim and get that particular part of the board which gives us the points necessary to win a game. Now the effort is made, we get frustrated, we have a thing, we swear and we shame and so on. And a lot of our pride gets damaged in the course of it. And I suddenly think also of those people who, just like the story in the Mahabharata, are able to direct their dart from huge distances to pick up a target with such amazing accuracy, and they are considered as unskilled in a way, not able to play this simple game of darts because their skills are better. I wonder if they brought those skills also into the Olympics, how many more medals they might acquire and how far down the others would be in the list of successes. In fact, there are examples of certain countries that I shan't name who do not wish to participate in certain fields of the Olympics, in certain games of the Olympics, because the countries that they colonized were far superior to them, and they did not want their name to be muddied by not having to win or be more successful than the colonies or the colonized countries were able to achieve. These are the shameful aspects of it. And since this is a matter of the past, in other words, it has begun with a long historical past, maybe it's time to change the nature of the Olympics into something that is more correctly universal rather than more Greek and Western European. We must, as it were, if that's the direction that we take, consider as many viewpoints as possible and be as neutral as possible and be careful in selecting the types of games that we can display our skills on, and not just those that help the rich, help the moneyed to get more medals just because they can afford to play the game. In this instance, I particularly take reference to horse show jumping, polo, and a few other games like that, where it is extremely expensive to pursue those sports because you have got to maintain an animal, you've got to feed the animal, you've got to train the animal, and you've got to train the jockey, you've got to have a field with set up hurdles and all properly done, which is beyond the scope of numerous countries where they have got people of natural skill who use their natural skill for their day-to-day living. And some of them are equally part of sports. As an instance, I take, for example, the bow and arrow, the shooting of arrows at the target. I can't imagine many of the hunter-gatherers of this world today, of South America, of parts of Africa, of the Middle East, of tribal areas and so on and so forth, being able to lose to those who have got today's usage of sophisticated bows and arrows. Now, there's nothing wrong in having sophisticated bows and arrows, but it must be equally taught to them. And if you want to compete with them, why don't you compete at the level that they have learned themselves and which you would have learned in order to play the game at a more sophisticated level? I can't think of many of these people losing out to the sophisticated countries or the more rich countries where such sports are paid for and it is a profession, whereas in these lesser countries, it is very difficult to make a living out of the activities of sport. There are many other points that follow, but I hope these may be some useful indicators to you so that it will help you in your future course of IELTS and the exams that follow them. Thank you very much. Namaste.